Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Morning Brief. My name is Janis, your host of the Morning Brief, and it is Friday, August 12th. And today, of course, I am on the Wisdom Audio app as well, and we are discussing business in general. Now, what exactly does that mean, business in general? For me, it means to be highly organized, obviously with working with many amazing clients I've had the honor and privilege of working with. Being organized and digitally being organized with your tasks on hand. Every client is different, and for me it's about really molding all those things for each client, which is different for each client. For instance, you have tasks and deadlines. Now, one thing, obviously with being in the legal field for over 30 years, what I've discovered, which is so simplistic in nature, and of course with starting my own business, is when you are working with a client, chances are you are going to be busy at times, right? But communication is the number one factor with working with your client. Communication, of course, can be by email, it can be by telephone. So part of that process too, when you start to work with the client, is for them to know when and how they can communicate with you, setting your boundaries as far as work schedules. I like to work ahead of the deadline. So if, for instance, if somebody said today was their deadline, they would actually have their project to them a week before. That's kind of how my organization mind works. Now that doesn't work with everyone, and I just want to be clear about that. It depends on what type of customer service or what type of online business that you have. That goes without saying. And if somebody sends you an email, and let's say for instance, if you're out of the office unexpectedly, you can obviously respond on the go. A lot of us have our email that we can easily view from our digital devices. But if you know you are going to be held up for 4 to 6 hours, make sure before you leave your office for the day or wherever you have to be, that you have one of those it's called the vacation responder. And it's something very simple. Hey, I'm out of the office today. Rest assured, I will get back to you. And give them a specific time frame. For instance, I'm going to be back in the office by 4. You should have a response from me by 6 o'clock. Keep it very simple. But what that is going to show your clients is that you are on top of their tasks and you will respond accordingly. Now, of course, if your client does not hear from you, well, of course, they are probably going to be emailing. I would assume they would be calling you and inquiring about a status on their project. Always be communicative. Tell them how you are going to respond. What is your usual time frame for responding? And excuse me, if you are so busy that you cannot respond, you have to really look at what you're doing and how you're doing it. That's why it is essential, so essential, to be highly organized with your business. I want to welcome everyone on the Wisdom app. Thank you all for being here today. And our discussion, of course, is business in general. So when you start working with the client, I always, and don't be afraid if you're in the market, for instance, or, in the process of interviewing or having that initial consultation with a virtual assistant, ask them. And I so appreciate, that's one of the first things that I talk about, by the way. But if they don't bring it up, the one question that you definitely have to ask your potential virtual assistant is, what is your time frame for communicating? In other words, okay, I send you an email at 10 a.m. When should I expect to receive a response? Don't be hesitant to ask those questions. A lot of virtual assistants I know, for instance, use either Telegram, or I think the other one is Voxer. I particularly don't communicate through that because a lot of what I do, my clients are all confidential. So I don't want to say that I will never communicate that way, but I've had clients that have asked me, hey, are you on Voxer? Can I send you a message on Voxer? Yes, I am on Voxer, but if your communication to me is confidential, I need you to email me or send me a text versus through a third-party app. I just feel more comfortable that way. So don't be hesitant. Don't be afraid to ask those important questions. Because the bottom line is, if you are hiring a virtual assistant to help you out with your business in general, you need to know how they communicate, what is the specific time frame that they can expect to hear back from you. And your clients are going to so appreciate that. And I just want to share with you, obviously, I've shared through the Wisdom app. My listeners and viewers know this. When my son Ryan had his accident last year, I was actually about 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks ahead with all my projects. And obviously I took my laptop with me and, sent out a very basic email to everyone before I left to let them know that I may not be able, if they email me or if they call me, and I may not be able to get back to them right away. And, being a solo entrepreneur, there was obviously so many blessings, as I've always talked about, but it was just that taking 2 seconds with a very emotional situation that I was going through at that time, obviously with my son suffering a life-threatening injury, to keep that open line of communication open. And, of course, once Ryan got out of the woods there, it was about 5 or 6 days later when he was initially in the neuro ICU, and then they transferred him to the step-down ICU. I was able to, obviously bring my laptop with me and, respond to a few inquiries. And but the bottom line is just keeping that open line of communication. That is so important. I am all about the communication factor. So again, I want to welcome everyone that is currently on the Wisdom app. I see some familiar names, so thank you so much for being here. So I have a question for my listeners on the Wisdom app. How do you feel about communication? What is the best way that you like to communicate? And what do you think is a really good time frame for somebody to respond to you? Like, what practices do you have in place? These are all great questions. And I know there's some amazing questions out there. And if you have another question that you'd like to ask me, I'd be happy to answer them for you to the best of my ability, of course, and invite you to come up on stage and let's have that conversation. Communication, the key factor in any good business. And I have a guest coming up. Excuse me. And let's see, 3, 2, 1.
Well, good morning, Janice, and how are you today?
Oh, good morning, Joseph. I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for asking. So how do you feel about communication?
Well, I think I'm going to answer one of the questions that you asked within it. So, and that is, what is the best way to communicate?
Mhm.
And I think that will all depend on what the topic is. But as I like to say, in business, if it ain't in writing, it doesn't exist.
Ah,
And it's to protect you,
right.
and it's to protect the other person, that if it's in writing, no one can say, I didn't say it, you said it, you misunderstood. It's in writing. And to try to be as clear and concise in your writing as possible.
I love that though. And most 99.9% of my communication is definitely in writing. And I so appreciate that. And you are so correct, because if it isn't in writing, how do you support what you're doing if it's not in writing and it's clear and concise? It's there in writing. There's no mistakes made in that. What would you think? And Joe, I think this is our, may I call you Joe?
Sure, absolutely.
I think this is our first time chatting. What do you think as far as, sometimes they say it's not what we say and it's how we say it. So, and that goes to true for, writing. I personally love to write. I sometimes think that I may be too particular, but that is how I've been successful. What would you say to somebody listening out there about what you just said about if it ain't in writing, it doesn't exist, if they're a little hesitant about doing that?
So first, Janice, you're correct. This is the first time you and I have spoken. And second, what I say to those who say if it ain't in writing, I say, look, it protects you, especially if you are in business dealing with someone. It protects you in so many ways. I just finished a small claims court case against a vendor who didn't pay me. And because it was in writing, I got payment. I received my payment. But it took me a while, but I had to present everything that I had, all the requests for the work, the times I sent the invoices, offering the payment options, all of these sorts of things. So it is so important to have things in writing, not just simply for legal, but even just everyday business. And even if you have a phone conversation, if it's an important phone conversation, follow it up in writing saying, hey, this is just to confirm my understanding with you that you want me to use X color, you want me to use X words, you want me to use X style, and in this particular format. And again, this eliminates any finger pointing, any bad blood in the long term. It's all in writing. And make the writing, as I said again, succinct. Bullet points are excellent to use. And just say, here are the points, boom, 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 and that's it. And again, it just protects you and it protects the other person.
Oh, I love that. You gave so many golden nuggets in just that short amount of time. And I know, obviously I work with people literally from all over the world. So I'm on Zoom a lot. And if I know it's going to be a strategy meeting, they know that I record, but I always do, I always record those things. But before I mention that I'm recording, I say, just a reminder, I'm going to be recording. Is that okay with you? And they say yes. And I write it down in my notes. And then we have our meeting. Now, a lot of times what I do with those, with the recording, is upload them into to Otter. That's one of my apps that I use. And it just cements for me, okay, did I clearly write the clients, all the tasks that I need to be made aware of? So, oh my gosh, thank you so much, Joseph. You gave us so many amazing tips on not just if it ain't in writing, it doesn't exist, but also from, it protects you in so many different ways. That was amazing. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time. Just a reminder, everyone, this is the morning brief. My name is Janis, and I am also recording this to my Facebook page, which will also be uploaded to my Truly Your VA, excuse me, podcast. Does anyone else have a question or would like to comment further on how they communicate? What is the best way for you to communicate? And I invite you to come up on stage. Let's have that conversation. Let me make sure I'm not touching the wrong buttons here. I'm always afraid I'm going to hit the wrong button. I crack myself up. But in any event, let's have that discussion. I welcome you all here today. Again, I see some familiar names here. How do you communicate? And maybe you have a different business question, a specific question about hiring a VA, or maybe it's about podcasting. Yes, I know I'm a dork. I love podcasting. Obviously, the host of 3 podcasts. And speaking of podcasts, I will be on later this afternoon. I'm just going to double check the time. 4 p.m. I believe it is. Yep, 4 p.m. Eastern time with Dr. Perrick. That is going to be an amazing discussion. And of course, I will be broadcasting live on my Truly Your VA Facebook page, as well as on the Wisdom audio app. And if any business owners out there, if you have an interest of being on my business podcast, Truly Your VA, I think I correctly updated my clickable links, my bio information. And if you go on my private, excuse me, my profile, underneath is the link for my website. Please feel free to register as a guest and put your information in there, your social media links. Takes maybe about 3 minutes to fill it out. And I do typically get back within 12 to 24 hours. Probably it will be tomorrow. And yeah, let's have that discussion. I love meeting with business owners who have a passion for what they do and helping others and servicing others and communicating very well with others. So I'm going to give it another moment here. Would welcome the opportunity to chat with anyone who wants to chat about business in general, or again, maybe you have a specific question in mind that you would like to answer. Yesterday, I was on, I'd listened to Daryl's chat, and he was on with the founder of Wisdom, and I have his name written here. It's around here somewhere. But anyways, some amazing things happening with the Wisdom audio app. Ask Me feature. I'm not sure if that is on as of yet. I'm excited to learn more about that. So, but I invite you right now, come up on stage. Would love to have that chat with you. Give it just another second here. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. I feel so blessed to do what I do. Do you feel blessed? I love what I do. Not only as, as a virtual assistant, creative project manager, but as a podcast host. And the Stories That Inspire Us podcast / the author series. I am just amazed at all the books that I've been receiving from my upcoming guests. I'm very excited about that. I obviously love to read and love to chat, but would also love that opportunity to chat with you. And I'm just going to give it another second here. speaking of books, what is one of your maybe favorite personal development books that you've read? Last summer, before Ryan's accident, I had bought, his name is Tim Grover, and he's written a couple of books, but I read 2 of his books, and he's a what do you call them? He's a sports trainer, and he has trained, some of the best, Magic Johnson, I believe. And I could be getting some of these names wrong because I don't have the books in front of me, but it wasn't so much about sports. It was about business in general and the dedication of, having that mindset to achieve what so few achieve in life. And it's just so inspiring to read those books. Just amazing. So my name is Janis, the host of the Morning Brief. Today's chat was business in general and communication. And I want to thank Joseph Barone for coming up on stage for just a few minutes. He gave some great tips, and he is so correct. If it ain't in writing, it doesn't exist. I will be back at 4 p.m. Eastern with my podcast with Dr. Perrick. I hope you all can come back and listen in. And again, if you want to be a guest on my podcast, click the link and register as a guest. My name is Janis. I hope you have an amazing day. And remember, if you have something to share, whether it's a story, whether it's your business on what you do, I want to hear from you. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you later. Bye for now. Hey, Facebook, thank you so much for being here. I love what I do. It's a Friday. I love Fridays. Feeling blessed and grateful as always. Thank you so much, and I will see you later today.